Next on the news, the descent on D.C., thousands arriving to March for Life.
And they're coming by the busload, ready to take a stand and march on the Supreme Court. I'm John Lavenberg with the plan for tomorrow.
Then a life-saving donation from the Knights of Columbus. Why these ultrasounds put them on the front lines of the pro-life battle. A Biden blunder the Secretary of State is trying to fix if Russia invades Ukraine.
That will be met with a swift, severe, united response.
Plus, during World War II, he wrote home, but his letters never made it until now. One soldier's story. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. Tomorrow, this is what the National Mall will look like. Thousands descending on D.C. for the largest human rights demonstration in the world. It's the March for Life, an event that brings pro-life supporters together to protest the anniversary of the Supreme Court's 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling that legalized abortion in all 50 states. But it's not just a protest. It's a celebration, honoring life from the moment of conception to natural death. John Lavenberg, the national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, is already in Washington, standing by at the National Shrine. And John, that's where the National Prayer Vigil is tonight. The march gets underway tomorrow. It's got to be exciting since last year's march was virtual. Is COVID keeping people away this year, or are you already seeing people gather?
Yeah, Christine, you know, like you said, the March for Life last year was it was largely virtual. There were only about 200 people that came out, pro-life leaders that came out and marched. And, you know, I can tell you, being at the Basilica a while now, I've already seen way more than that going in and out of the Basilica, being on the steps, as you can kind of see behind me here. So there have been a lot of people going in and out, and I anticipate, as the reports have indicated, that the march tomorrow could reach pre-pandemic levels.
Wow, that's great. And now this march comes at a time when the Supreme Court is poised to issue a decision in the coming months that could reshape the abortion landscape in this country, especially with so many states currently fighting abortion access. Some think Roe v. Wade could finally be overturned. Others think it never will be. So what's the consensus there?
Yeah, you know, Christine, pro-life leaders are very hopeful that Roe v. Wade will be overturned later this summer when the Supreme Court is expected to make that decision. And at the same time, they're also saying that that doesn't mean that this pro-life movement or this fight against abortion ends at all. They talk about the fact that, you know, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, that abortion law goes back to the states, in which case, while we'll see many restrictions, there will also be more permissive laws in a lot of places. And with that, they're also talking about the need to up local and state advocacy in terms of legislation, but at the same time appealing to people about the evil of abortion and talking people against it and advocating for better family policy and things of that nature too.
All right, Brooklyn's Bishop Robert Brennan is offering a special reflection at tonight's Holy Hour. Do you know what we can expect him to say?
So some of the things Bishop Brennan is expected to say, you know, he talks about that every person is made in the image of likeness of God. So that's one of the things he's going to touch on. And then also the big thing is changing hearts and mind is the other thing he's going to focus on. Just that you need to appeal to people to really make progress in this movement beyond legislation. And then beyond that, he also said that, you know, he doesn't know exactly where the Holy Spirit's going to move him when it comes time for that reflection. So there could be more, he says, as well.
Have to wait and see. And when we caught up with the bishop earlier this week, he talked about all of the young people who participate in the march. There seems to be some young people right there behind you. Why do they seem to want to participate?
That's right, Christine. You can see it right behind me. There are some young people, and that's been a common theme since I've been here. Young people all over these stairs and going in and out of the Basilica. And there were bus loads were here. I know the Diocese of Brooklyn is sending a bus as well. And they really talk about the fact that, you know, this is important for them to be a part of because of Catholic social teaching, the way they were brought up. But also more than that, they talk about the fact that if young people aren't the ones to carry out this fight against abortion and make this stand, then who is going to for future generations? So they really take this upon themselves. They take pride in the fact that they're here advocating for life, both at the National Shrine of the Basilica and then tomorrow at the march.
That's right. They've got to keep that fight going. John Lavenberg, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux. We'll check back in with you tomorrow. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Christine.
And make sure you stay with Currents News and the tablet for all of your March for Life coverage. John Lavenberg will be on the National Mall all day tomorrow with the thousands making their way to the Supreme Court. If you aren't making your way to D.C. tomorrow, you can still get in the pro-life spirit in the Diocese of Brooklyn. Instead of marching, Holy Family Church in Fresh Meadows is asking people to donate a rose for life. The $5 cost of the rose is going to help Bridge to Life, a pro-life organization in Flushing, Queens, that looks to help pregnant women and new moms get the essentials in the hopes that they will choose life and keep their babies. The roses donated will adorn the church's sanctuary during the parish's day of prayer and fasting on January 21st. So if you'd like to donate a rose for life, just contact the rectory at 718-969-2448. Now to an investigation pro-life leaders are calling deeply disturbing. What if your doctor told you your unborn baby was going to have a disorder, one that would affect the rest of their life? But they weren't right. The test was wrong. That's exactly what's happening to parents in the United States. An in-depth study found some prenatal blood tests have alarmingly high false positives for genetic disorders that could lead to the abortions of unborn babies. Jessica Easthope has more, including the story of a mother who, despite it all, chose life.
This is Shane Gleason on the day of his grammar school graduation. His mom, Debbie, still thinks back in horror to the first thing her doctor said about him.
To this day, I don't believe in abortion, but they're telling me there's no other option because he's going to die anyway.
Debbie was told without a doubt Shane would have trisomy 13, a rare genetic disorder that causes severe intellectual and physical disabilities, that he wouldn't live beyond a week.
They said, but what about your daughter? You know, that's not fair to her to bring her brother into her life, and then a week later, he's dead.
But Debbie's case isn't rare. An analysis done by the New York Times of non-invasive prenatal tests shows they're wrong 85% of the time.
As your risk of carrying a baby with Down syndrome goes down, your chance of actually getting a false positive goes up. And that's the data that they're not really presenting.
Dr. Tara Sander-Lee, the director of life sciences at the Charlotte Lozier Institute, says every day thousands of women across the globe get these false results, prompting them to seek out an abortion.
If I were to listen to them because of a test to end his life, a test that wasn't even true.
If the test is positive, they are often pressured to abort this child.
She calls this a modern form of eugenics.
This is a whole nother layer to the abortion industry that is deceptive, that wants to get rid of people that look and act differently than we do.
The tests are screenings, not a diagnosis. In Iceland, close to 100% of women who get positive results for Down syndrome terminate their pregnancies.
They made it seem like he wasn't even a human.
Currently, more than a dozen states prohibit discrimination abortions based on prenatal screenings. New York is not one of them. Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
For more information on how a baby develops and the chances of a false positive during prenatal testing, you can visit the Charlotte Lozier Institute website at lozierinstitute.org/voyage. The Knights of Columbus are on the front lines of the pro-life battle. For years now, they have been donating ultrasound machines so that parents can see their unborn child in hopes they decide to keep their baby. And on Wednesday, the Knights donated their 1,500th life-saving machine. The machine was donated to the First Choice Women's Resource Center in New Brunswick, New Jersey, complete with a dedication ceremony and a special blessing from Metuchen's Bishop, James Cecchio. The Sisters of Life were also there. The Knights of Columbus have spent more than $72 million in providing the life-saving technology to pregnancy centers across the country. Pope Benedict is denying any wrongdoing after a newly released report concluded that he mishandled 4 sex abuse cases when he was an archbishop in Germany. The Munich report, as it's called, was commissioned by the Catholic Church, and it alleges accused priests remained active in their church roles during Joseph Ratzinger's time as archbishop. from 1977 to 1982. In the meantime, the Vatican press office says it has received the document and plans on studying it. There's some fallout today over comments made by the President of the United States. Yesterday, Biden said that there is no unity with NATO over how to respond to a minor incursion by Russia in the Ukraine. Ukraine's foreign minister shot back, saying there's no such thing as a minor incursion, that any attack on his country should be treated equally. In the meantime, the Secretary of State is meeting with European allies today in Berlin, hoping to leave no doubt that Russia will pay a significant price if it invades. That's where Chris Wynn picks up the story.
As Russia stages tens of thousands of troops along the Ukrainian border, President Joe Biden is receiving criticism for seeming to cast doubt on the Western commitment to Ukraine in comments at his press conference Wednesday.
It's one thing if it's a minor incursion and then we end up having a fight about what to do and not do, etc.
Critics calling it an invitation for Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. The president Thursday morning seeking to clarify his stance.
If any assembled Russian units move across the Ukrainian border, that is an invasion. But it will be met with severe and coordinated economic response that I've discussed in detail with our allies, as well as laid out very clearly for President Putin.
The U.S. saying Russian cyber attacks and paramilitary tactics will be met with a reciprocal response. This as Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky urged his country not to panic over fears of a Russian invasion.
Everyone needs to exhale. Calm down. Don't run for emergency supplies like buckwheat and matches.
Ukraine insists that Russia is seeking to destabilize the country, but Russia sees the growing support for Ukraine from NATO in terms of weaponry, training, and personnel as a threat to its own security.
Every country in the world, friend and foe alike, is going to watch what's going on to see what lessons they can derive about American willingness and ability to stand up to aggression.
In Washington, Chris Wynn, Currents News.
There's a lot more news headed your way. It's a dangerous situation, putting Americans at risk. A shortage partly caused by COVID, but you can help. We'll tell you how. Plus, the government is sending out free at-home COVID test kits, but don't hold your breath. It could take a while to arrive in your mailbox. And this.
That was it. That was the moment that changed my life.
What this man's young daughter said to him that inspired him to get healthy and ultimately saved his life. When we come back. As COVID-19 hospitalization rates surge across the country, the American Red Cross and other groups say the U.S. blood supply is dangerously low. Mandy Gaither has more on what's causing the supplies to be depleted and how you can help.
A new record high in the U.S. More COVID-19 hospitalizations than at any other point in the pandemic. And as those in healthcare scramble to care for these patients, another danger lurks: dangerously low life-saving blood supplies.
The crisis is the worst we've seen in over a decade.
The American Red Cross says several factors, including surging COVID-19 cases, severe winter storms, declines in donor turnout, blood drive cancellations, and staffing problems have all led to shortages across the U.S.
We are challenged to collect enough blood to meet hospital needs, and sometimes up to 25% of a hospital's need might not be met.
Some blood centers across the country reporting less than a day's supply of certain types of blood, and major surgeries for some patients to be postponed.
We encourage everyone who is healthy and feeling well to roll up their sleeves and make an appointment. We require masks of all of our staff and our donors and anyone associated with a blood drive, so the donation process is very safe.
I'm Mandy Gaither.
The New York Blood Center is asking donors of all blood types, but especially type O, to make an appointment now to give in the weeks ahead. If you're interested in donating, you can find a blood drive close to you or make an appointment online at donate.nybc.org, or you can call 800-933-2566. While New York's personal battle against the Omicron variant continues to head in the right direction, that's not the coronavirus forecast across the country. Nationwide, cases are continuing to spread and fast. The U.S. is reporting a daily average of nearly 800,000 COVID cases. That's nearly 3 times the levels seen last winter. And while the Omicron variant may cause less severe effects than previous variants, health experts say 50 to 300,000 more Americans could die by mid-March. The Biden administration is hoping to catch those cases early, launching a free COVID tests for all website. It's offering millions of at-home rapid tests to Americans free of charge. However, there's a catch. The delivery of the tests rests in the hands of the U.S. Postal Service, which has been seeing huge mail delays across the country. Listen to what people had to say in Maryland who haven't gotten their regular mail in weeks.
There are households where there has been no mail delivered for days. Now, if we can't get the mail, how are we going to get these COVID tests?
Health experts suggest ordering the tests before you need them. Just don't expect overnight delivery. The White House says most tests will ship in 7 to 12 days and not until late January. They say the tests should be used in 3 situations: if you have symptoms, at least 5 days after exposure, or before gathering indoors with high-risk people.
He did it, and I'm so proud of him.
Also tonight, a special story about a new year and a new start. This little girl's dad is thanking her for saving his life. She was scared her daddy was going to die, so she told him, and that's what set off his inspirational transformation. Whether he's working out himself or training his wife and daughter.
There we go. 1. Very good. 2.
You'll often catch Anthony Lally at the gym. The 44-year-old Brooklynite is a bodybuilding champ, but that wasn't always the case.
Since as far back as I can remember, I struggled with my weight.
This was Anthony just a few years ago. He was a real estate mogul and best-selling author at the top of his game when it came to everything but his weight.
Yes, absolutely. At my heaviest, I was 315 pounds. I started getting sleep apnea, chest pains.
So when his 2.5-year-old daughter at the time noticed Daddy was obese,
she said, "Daddy, you're fat. I don't want you to die." That was it. That was the moment that changed my life.
July 17th, 2018, this is my day 2.
He got to work and documented his fitness journey.
Thursday, July 19th, July 28th, August 15th.
Anthony lost 140 pounds in 9 months, had surgery to remove loose skin around his middle, and entered his first bodybuilding competition the following year. His wife, Teresa, is his biggest supporter, fan, and student.
Excellent.
I just give him all the credit because he actually committed and did it. He took his life serious and he took his family serious.
And once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, Anthony turned his own transformation into a business, Radical Body Transformations, helping others get fit and healthy.
It was bigger than just me. It was just, maybe God used me as a tool, as an instrument to help other people.
And it's all thanks to his daughter, Love.
Well, me and my mom and my brother, Legend, inspired my dad to lose weight, and he did it, and I'm so proud of him.
She's so cute. Anthony tells me he feels alive, that he's now able to play with his children without getting out of breath. He says he wants people to know his story, to know it's possible. If you'd like to learn more about Anthony's transformation and how he's helping others get fit and healthy, check out the Radical Body Transformations website at rbtshow.com. Still to come on Currents News, a brave World War II soldier promised to write to his mother and did, but she never got his letter. Now it's finally been delivered 76 years later.
He was a good man. He really was. Everybody loved him.
Plus, a late-night excursion for the Holy Father, where Pope Francis was seen hanging out in Rome.
The mailman came and he said, was your husband in the service? And I said, yes, he was.
It was a hello from heaven. A young soldier's letter home dating back to World War II has now made its way to his family decades later. That letter was from a soldier serving overseas to his mother. And now, 76 years later, his message was finally delivered to his widow in Woburn, Massachusetts. As Christine McCarthy reports, this very special delivery is now a cherished treasure.
That's the address and everything. Imagine that. 76 years.
Angelina Gonzalez didn't even know this letter existed.
I couldn't believe it, and then just his handwriting and everything, you know, it was just so amazing.
On December 6, 1945, months after World War II ended, a 22-year-old Army sergeant she had yet to meet penned a note to his mother in Woburn while he was overseas in Germany.
It says, "Dear Mom, received another letter from you today and was happy to hear that everything is okay. As for myself, I'm fine and getting along okay. But as far as the food, it's pretty lousy."
That letter was lost in the mail, long forgotten, until late last year when it suddenly and inexplicably showed up in a Pittsburgh Postal Service facility. John had died 6 years before, his mom long gone, so it would be delivered to his next of kin, the bride he left behind.
The mailman came and he said, "Was your husband in the service?" And I said, "Yes, he was." And he said, "Well, I think I have a letter for you." And I said, "Really?"
After the war, Angelina and John married and settled in Woburn. They raised 5 children and were happily married for 61 years.
He was a good man. He really was. Everybody loved him.
Angelina, who turns 90 this month, finds comfort reading these sweet words from a brave son to his worried mother.
At the end, he said, "Love and kisses, your son, Johnny. I'll be seeing you soon, I hope," which I thought was wonderful.
A letter from the past, the best present that could be delivered.
It's like he came back to me, you know, really. That was amazing.
So sweet. That was Christine McCarthy reporting. Along with the handwritten letter was a note from a USPS employee explaining, "We are uncertain where this letter has been for the past 7+ decades, but it arrived at our facility approximately 6 weeks ago. Due to the age and significance to your family history, delivering this letter was of utmost importance to us." And before we go, Pope Francis took a trip last week, one that had little to do with the Catholic Church. The Holy Father has long lamented that he can't walk around town unnoticed like he used to before becoming the Pope. But as Currents News' Justin McClellan reports, that didn't stop the 85-year-old pontiff from slipping out of the Vatican to make a trip to the record store.
Well, it was late afternoon here in Rome when a white Fiat 500 pulled up here in front of this record store to drop off an unexpected visitor.
Just next to the Pantheon sits this unassuming record shop in the center of Rome. Yet among its clientele is the head of the Catholic Church. Pope Francis surprised the shop with an impromptu visit to say hello to some old friends.
Santo Padre!
He didn't come to buy any records. He just came to bless the store. He's been a customer of ours for a long time, and he came to see us.
Tiziana Esposito is the shop owner's daughter. She says the Pope has been coming into their store since he was Archbishop Jorge Bergoglio of Buenos Aires and continued coming back as a cardinal during his trips to Rome.
It was really exciting. I don't know how to describe it. To see the Pope set foot in the store was so powerful. It was so emotional having seen him before and then seeing him now.
The store sells records of all genres and ages, but over the years, Pope Francis has remained loyal to his personal taste in music.
Just classical music. He listens to classical music. He's particularly passionate about opera and great vocalists.
It seems Pope Francis's days of buying records are behind him, as the store owners gave him a box of classical music CDs as a gift. A sign that even for a modern Pope, you just can't beat the classics.
While Tiziana says it was exciting to see the Pope walk into her store, she says the best part of it all was being able to see an old friend again. From Rome, Justin McClellan, Currents News.
And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.